This is going to be a video showcasing semi-advanced strategies with Martian Manhunter. Now, someone posted a comment on my first video saying if you do back 1-3 hard knockdown and do a overhead teleport, it'll cross them up on block. So I took that into the lab and I realized that there are 3 different hit levels. The first one being it'll cross them up, but instead of swaying away from them on block, Martian Manhunter will sway towards them on block, which will open them up for a punish with any move that's A frame or faster. So that's the move. That's the version you do not want to use because it's punishable. The next hit level you can do off that is you can make it so you'll make it cross up. However, instead of him swaying towards the opponent, making it punishable, you can make him sway away as if they block their regular one, which will make it safe. So you have access to a cross up that's safe on block. I'm going to showcase that right now. So for example, you see I'm going to be holding back to block. I can't because it's crossing me up, so I'm going to be holding forward this time, but when I block it, he's safe anyway because I'm using the hit level 2. So he gets a safe cross-up attempt. Now the third hit level I realized you can do off that is you can time it very late into the move, where you can make it ambiguous with the second hit level, making it not cross up. Your opponent can't tell because you're doing it like 1 frame after the second one. So you basically have access to safe 50-50, one that'll cross up and one that'll not, every time you end a knockdown with that, and I think that's really dirty. And your opponent also can't move or wake up out of it, so it's really good. Actually, they can wake up out of it, but since you're coming from the sky, a lot of wake ups will whiff, but they can't jump or dash or do anything out of that. They're going to have to take the 50-50 or try and wake up. Now, another thing I noticed with Martian Manhunter is his standing 3 move. For whatever reason, he can grab some interactables above his head after doing it. So for example, if I hit my opponent with 3, I can grab the car and do that. Or, if they even block it, I can also do things like 3 into interactables above me. And if I want to make sure it hits, I could just meter burn it for extra safety if I want to. So in combos, you can do things like this. Like let's say I land the combo on my opponent, I can do like this into, whoops, I can do his grab move into that, if I can land that right now, 3 and then car OTG, like something like that. I'm sure you guys will find stuff on stages with it. I haven't got to mess around with it that much, but it is something worth knowing. Another thing with Martian Manhunter I noticed is his orbs. Since they grant a lot of advantage, they're like over +20. What you can do is, let's say you're pressuring someone up close, and this is kind of like fancy, but I'm sure it'll open people up. What you can do is you can do like back 1 meter burn orb as a low attempt, and since you're at advantage, you can still go for follow-ups. Now you can mix it up with back 2 overhead, so you can just do 50-50s over and over for a meter. Like let's say you're trying to chip your opponent out for the win, and you just feel like styling on them, you can do back 1 meter burn orb, overhead orb, you know, just get your pressure out. And let's say your opponent has like 10% health or whatever, and you're sitting on meter. You can chip them out from even, like let's say I do a knockdown from full screen. Let's say I do this combo ender and I'm sitting on meter and I knock them full screen. I can do something like this. Whoops, messed that up. And this is all literally a frame trap for about 10% chip. So that's pretty dirty. If you're sitting on a meter and you want to chip your opponent out, you can easily do that anywhere on the screen. If they happen to block one, they're not going to be able to move because it's all advantage and it's like a frame trap. But you want to make sure you trait up, because when you're in trait you get extra damage. So for example, without trait this will do 2% chip. With trait it'll do 2.20% chip. So if you're always trying to chip your opponent, make sure to go into trait. And now going to his zoning game a little. When you're playing against players, and I know some people are going to get impatient when they're dealing with stuff like this. People like to jump a lot to get in, like dash in jump or whatever they want to do. When you're zoning with this, now why this is kind of a good zoning tool is because not only can you use it to zone with, but you can kind of use it as a preemptive anti-air move. So let's say I think my opponent's gonna like jump in for full screen or whatever to, you know, avoid a ground pillar or something. I don't feel like wasting meter to do this or whatever. Once you start reading your opponent, what you can do is you can do one of these as an anti-air, and you can actually combo off that if you see it hit in the air. You gotta do an instant air teleport though. There we go. So you can actually combo off these if you hit the opponent in the air, which I think is really good. And now, another thing I want to talk about is getting into his corner game a little. Oh, well, not corner game, but... Well, I mainly use this for when I have my opponent in the corner. But you can also use this as just basic conditioning your opponent not to move. So if you're playing like footsies with them, like for example, when you're in trait and you have... Well, actually, let me show you what I'm talking about first. When you're trait and you do this move back two, the hitbox is ridiculous on that. Not only is it an overhead, it has huge distance on block. You can just end in that to make it safe and push them back so they have to get in again. But the beauty about back two and trait is not only does it cover the ground, the huge hitbox, it also covers the air at the same time. So for example, if my opponent tries jumping over me while I try doing that, they're actually gonna get hit. And the hitbox is so big that it creates like a shield around Martian Manhunter with his arms, and it just hits everything in your path. So in the corner, what I was realizing is if you have someone in the corner, you have trade out, you could literally just do something like this and just annoy the crap out of your opponent, because they're not gonna be able to jump in, and your back two is gonna outrange the shit out of people. So you can just chip and pressure them like that. You know, it can be really annoying. Setting up orbs, doing stuff, really messed up stuff. So his back two and trait is extremely good. And now the final thing I want to show you guys is doing knockdowns. Like let's say you have your opponent in the corner and you want to be fancy, you can do a knockdown like that. And now my opponent's going to be blocking, obviously. What I realized is you can do like a knockdown, set up an orb, go for a grab, and they'll take the full damage from the grab. But the best part is, even if they know the grab's coming and they try and do a throw break, it won't really matter because they'll even take the full damage. So regardless, if you do a knockdown and set up a medium regular orb and go for a grab, regardless if the grab hits, if the grab hits them or if they tech it or not, they'll always take 10%. Well, that's another cool trick to keep aware of. I hope you guys enjoyed. That's it for Martian Manhunter for today.